Hello there, and welcome to stage one of the course and project. First off, congratulations, because in order to get here, you would have already gone through all the information in the course and project overview. You would have watched the video, reviewed the slides, checked out the outlining critical path, and completed the course review quiz as well in order to unlock stage one. So you've made it here, which is fantastic. And so now you're really going to start getting into actually working on your project a bit, specifically figuring out what is the project you're going to create, right? So this stage of the project involves researching potential directions, then proposing and creating a timeline or a plan for the project you will complete this semester. So you'll notice this module on Blackboard. If you click it open, it has a stage one overview, video and guidelines. That's where you found this video. There is a folder of project examples and recommendations where there are project ideas, examples, and ideation tips. And then as well as the stage one submission. So I'll be going through all of this in this video. First off, the stage one overview. Like I said, that's where you found this video. You are currently in stage one, propose and plan for your multimedia project. The goal of this stage is to research project directions, then propose and plan your own. The purpose of stage one being to research, ideate, and determine your project direction, create a custom timesheet for you to use throughout the course, and develop a proposal and plan for your self-directed multimedia project. If you're having trouble of what direction to take your project, check out the project ideas, examples, and ideation tips on Blackboard, which I will also be covering in this video. Key takeaway is that this stage is all about laying a strong foundation for your project. The more time and thought you put into researching, ideating, and planning now, the more focused and effective your work will be throughout the rest of the semester. This is the time to explore your ideas, define your project's direction, and set clear goals before you dive into creating or designing. The more time and effort you really put into proposing and planning your project now, the better the whole rest of the semester will be. So it's very important for you to spend a fair amount of time really thinking and considering and putting all of this stuff together. Stage one breakdown. The submission is only one part, but it lasts the first 3 weeks of the semester, and your stage one submission will include a timesheet as well as your project proposal and project plan. So as covered previously, each submission will request the timesheet and plan to be updated. Since this is the first submission you're doing, they won't necessarily be, this is the first time you're submitting them, so they won't be updated from anything before. But just make sure to track your coursework time and check off tasks on your project plan as you complete them. That's to help you stay on track. And use this time in this stage to consider a project that is meaningful to you. You'll be working on it the rest of the semester, so setting a strong foundation now is very important. Okay, so that's the overview of stage one. Let's get into looking at some ideas and examples and recommendations. So first off, this link to project ideas will take you to this sort of document here. It says, welcome to the MMDD Self-Directed Project Ideas resource. To utilize it, you can select various topics here, and there's some ideas, potential projects related to them. This isn't the most updated document, I'll be honest, but there are some possible directions here you could go with your project. And you can see they are organized by various disciplines. So say, for instance, you're interested in AR or exploratory technology. You could develop a branded AR filter package, and there's some information about what that could look like, as well as an example of how a previous student did that. Maybe you're interested in social media. You could create a social campaign. Similarly, information here, some possible deliverables, an example project someone did as well. So you can click around this resource, see if you find anything that inspires you, any possible directions that you would maybe want to go or take your project. This is just one of a few resources I'm providing to sort of facilitate that experience for you. Next up is project examples, which I think will be very helpful for a lot of students, because examples tend to be a good way of understanding, again, what previous students have done. Below are links to previous final deliverables of self-directed MMDD projects from previous semesters. Notice how the students create a story of how their learning progressed throughout the semester to reach a final product. So this is the final thing you're going to end up making in this class. So this won't come up for quite a while, but you're able to get a sense of how previous students have put this together, and it gives you a full-scale look at their project throughout the semester. Now, many of the case studies here were made using Medium, which was a previous platform used in the course, but now you're going to be using Behance. So the most recent ones do actually use Behance, but some of the case studies may look a bit different. I'm just letting you know. And projects with an asterisk are from the latest round of students, so fall 2024. So you can see here there's a lot of different categories of different things covered in the MMDD program, like AR and exploratory tech, UI UX, multimedia art, social media and content, development, video production, motion graphics, branding and graphic design. A lot of different directions here. And I'm not going to go through every example. There's way too many, but this is just to show you some standout projects, some interesting directions that previous students have taken the course before. So for instance, to start, we see here that a student made 3D modeling assets for The Sims 4. Now, something that's so great about this class and the freedom that you have to propose these projects is that students come to me with ideas for things that I would not have considered. Right, so I didn't say to students, hey, maybe you could make 3D assets for The Sims 4. No, a student came to me and said, hey, I'd like to explore this and do this for this project. And I said, that sounds great. And you can see here in this final deliverable that they put together, I'm not going to go through it line by line, but first off, we can see the mugs here rendered in The Sims 4. And the student wanted to learn how to use Blender for 3D modeling, which isn't something that's really covered in the program. So it was a great opportunity to explore that platform. And you can see their creative process, the research that they did, the plan they put together, sketching out the mug that they wanted to replicate the 3D model after, creating it in Blender, mapping textures and patterns onto the mugs, creating different looks for it, and then mocking it up here in The Sims 4. So I think that that's really a fantastic project. And like I said, it expands the possibilities of what is even possible in this course. They added in poster designs and promo and stuff for the plugin as well, or the sort of mod on the Sims resource website, which if you're a Sims 4 player, you could add these into your Sims universe, which is really cool. So all of that to say, think about ways you can stretch this course in new directions. What's something that you're passionate about that you'd like to explore? Feel free to propose it, right? That's kind of what this is all about. Another example from last semester, a student who's interested in UI UX, but also is into gaming, decided to redesign the user interface and experience for Mass Effect. This is a really interesting project because it's taking in the personal interest of video games and applying it to UI and UX skills that have been covered in this program. And this is a very comprehensive case study here where they go through their whole plan, technologies used, the creative process, showing their sketches, their wireframes, and then going through all of the different areas of Mass Effect where they changed some aspect of the interface. And if I just scroll down here to the bottom, we can see this video which shows you some of their work, right? Here's the original Mass Effect interface, and here is the new one that they redesigned, right? So side by side, this is the title page here. Next up, we have the equipment pages, right? And you can just see side by side their redesign. So really interesting project as well, and taking in the personal interest of video games. So say you're interested in UI UX design, well, what else are you into in the world, and how can you combine those two things together? Other ways you can think about taking this, right? Some students have done more multimedia art directions. So this is one here, and this is a Medium article. So like I said, it looks a bit different than the Behance ones, but the student's a musician, wanted to make an animated video, basically, or using animation, they wanted to make a video for their song. And so you can see, go through their case study here. They show some of their creative process and their setup, some of the editing that they were working on, and the final product. I don't think you'll be able to hear this, but you can see, right, combining animation and motion with video and audio, right? All things coming together in the
Not the person you thought I would be.
So I think that this more artistic route is also fantastic to take your project in this course. So if you're someone who has, passion that you typically think about as being, a hobby outside of work or something like that, how can you bring that into what you're learning in the multimedia design and development program? Combine your passion with that to create something impactful, right? And something that will again, help you in your career and the desired path you would like to go on while learning all sorts of new skills along the way. And so there's all kinds of projects for you to look at here to see how previous students have taken the course, and hopefully you can use it to find some inspiration, some possible directions that you might like to take your project in this course. Next up is project ideation tips. So it can be hard, of course, to come up with a project idea for this course, though that is part of the challenge. Below are some tips you can use to get your ideas flowing. There's all those examples for you to look at that I just showed you there. But even you can just go to Behance, right? And you can just type stuff in, right? Search the creative world at work. How about video games and motion graphics? Right? I saw a previous example. Yeah, Valorant. Let's see what someone did here. Here's motion that was utilized for, I guess, Valorant assets, right? These look like game loading screens or something. They talk a bit about their process, right? Quite cool looking. Not sure if this was official for Riot or if this was someone's own project. But again, I'm kind of just ruminating here. But you can see all kinds of other case studies also on Behance in all kinds of different areas, right? Here is it looks like a proposed Olympic Games.
A point in the past, where it all began,
quite nice
between the folds
here
of time. A point in the future.
So, you can just search Behance, look at other case studies, other work from people to get a sense of what kind of stuff you might want to make, right? You're not going to be replicating one-to-one, copying someone's exact work, but using it for inspiration of potential directions you could take your own work. So, just search different things in Behance, see what people have been making, spend time browsing, right? You're given time in this class to do this, so you should spend time exploring, right? You can also use ChatGPT for ideation. Right, consider using a prompt like the following to help with project ideation. So you can just copy and paste this into ChatGPT. It specifies that you are a student in the MMDD program and you're seeking guidance for a self-directed portfolio project idea. It describes the project requirements, the scope of the project, the format, right, breaking into 4 stages. Then list your career goals and your career interests, what disciplines interest you, motion graphics, UI, UX, video production, whatever it is. What are your personal interests? I don't know, rock climbing, hiking, gaming, streaming Netflix. What are your hobbies? What are your current skill levels in the area that you're looking at here, right? Okay, so I'm an amateur in Adobe After Effects, or how sort of advanced are you? And then ChatGPT will spit something out. Right, it'll take your career interests, it'll take your personal interests, it'll make a project that then fits the parameters that have been described here. So I've experimented with this prompt and gotten some interesting responses. You can definitely use this prompt. I also encourage you to change it, refine it, do back and forth with ChatGPT just to ideate further. But this is an instance of how you can use AI, right, in this class, especially if you're stuck with getting ideas. See what ChatGPT has to say. You never know what kind of interesting things it may spit back at you. So treat it as an ideation tool and still tweak what ChatGPT tells you to adapt the project more clearly to the course and your abilities. And if you do this, just make sure to say you used AI, that you used ChatGPT for ideation. Just include that in your project proposal, and then everyone is happy, okay? What you shouldn't do is use ChatGPT, get a project idea, and then act as if you came up with it on your own, because that's not the case, right? You use this tool to help facilitate that ideation. So that covers the project examples and recommendations, and now we will get into the actual submission itself. So this is what lies ahead of you, and you will see it looks quite straightforward, right? There's just a few deliverable requests here, but it's a matter of completing those deliverable requests, of course. So you have a stage 1 timesheet, project proposal, and project plan. Now with each of these, you will notice that there's templates provided. So with your timesheet, if you open the template, this is a template for the timesheet for use in this class. You'll need to download it or add it to your own OneDrive to edit it, but you'll add in your own company name, whether that's, Chris Designs or, a freelancer type name. Just something there as a placeholder, even just for this course, as well as a logo that you make, right? Could be your personal logo if you have one, or a logo you make up for some hypothetical design firm. Again, just trying to kind of simulate a bit more of a professional context for you. Then you'll include project developer, your information, your name, your N number, your email address, your project supervisor, that's me, my information's already there. Then the timesheet information. So the timesheet number, it starts with 1, but every time you make a new timesheet, you update that number. The dates covered in this timesheet, you'll update that with each of the timesheets that you submit. And then the task that you completed, and then how long it took you, right? So this is really meant to be something you're doing ongoing, keeping track of the time you're spending on this course. This will help you to understand how much time you're putting into this, as well as me. And then you will total your hours this period. So in this sense, it would be 5. This is the total number of hours from this timesheet, but also total project hours. So since you're going to keep making subsequent timesheets, you'll have this as a running total of all the hours you've worked on the course so far. So you'll need to keep referencing and keeping track of all of your time. And then a note here, you'll find the associated work attached along with the timesheet, right? That's for you to send to me. So this is fairly straightforward, and it's, again, meant to replicate or simulate a more professional scenario where you might be having timesheets or invoices and things like that, especially in a freelance type relationship. So keep in mind that that's what the purpose of this is. And yeah, but have some fun with, making it be branded to your own brand. That's the timesheet, so you'll be keeping track of the hours you're working on. Then your project proposal. So this is a fairly substantial document here. Once again, you'll need to download it or add it to your own OneDrive to edit it. But it's a very bare bones template right now. You'll need to make something more substantial, of course. But you'll see here the first slide is the template guide. This template is a bare bones guide for you to include the necessary info in your project proposal. There are brief descriptions and examples on each slide to help guide you. Make sure to delete them while you fill the slides in with your own information. You're also expected to make this proposal more visually appealing so it ties to your project. This is just bare bones. You're a designer. Sell me on your idea. And make sure to delete this page before submitting, okay? So you should not be submitting a proposal that's all black and white like this with default text. You should be changing the visuals at least a little bit to apply more directly to your project, whether that's using colors of the client you're making a thing hypothetically for, right? Or you want to use your own personal branding colors. Thinking about that Mass Effect UI project I just showed, you can make the slides look kind of futuristic-y, right, with that kind of color palette. Just things to keep in mind, because you are a designer, so you are expected to have nice-looking documents. It doesn't have to be anything super extravagant, but at least some design decisions made to curate this proposal to impress your potential, supervisor. Well, I mean, it is me. I'm not your potential, but anyway. You'll then include you'll start your proposal. You'll delete this slide, and you'll start your proposal with a project summary. So briefly describe your project idea. For example, a multimedia promotional package for the Taylor Swift Eras Tour coming to Toronto. She's already come, R.I.P. Taylor, but this was an example from before. And this is, again, very baseline, lowest effort sort of example, so you'll want to have a little bit more, substantial with what you are including. But that's a project summary. Then the project scope and goals. Specify the scope of what you plan to complete by the end of the semester with specific goals. So, for example, I plan to complete the following: a 15-second vertically formatted ad for Instagram stories, a motion poster, and a 5 to 10 second looping digital billboard for Young Dundas Square. So the summary is just a broad overall, okay, I'm making a multimedia promotional package, but then the scope and goals are saying, okay, here's the specific things I plan to create. The more specific it gets, the easier it will be for you to actually know what you're aiming towards, right? If you just say you're making a multimedia promotional package without clarifying what that's going to look like, you're going to be lost in your own project. So the clearer you can get with the scope and the goals, the more straightforward the whole rest of the process will be. Personal relevance. Like I've said before, it's important for you to choose a project that has some personal relevance to you. So explain how this project aligns with your personal interests, right? If you're into rock climbing, how does this project tie to rock climbing? I don't know, right? Example, I'm inspired by Taylor Swift as an artist and entrepreneur and have an interest in creating promotional multimedia content for musicians once I graduate. That shows why, for this example project, she was chosen rather than the Raptors or something like that, right? So what about this project has personal relevance to you? Then your career goals, right? So the personal relevance and career goals being balanced. What are the goals of having this project on your career portfolio? Provide a link and description of a job or position that this project would help you get. Okay, so for example, having this project on my portfolio will demonstrate my aptitude with directing a creative campaign and creating rich multimedia assets. Having this project in my portfolio would help me for applying to jobs like this to be a multimedia designer for a music company. So it would be great to, yes, find actual legit job opening positions on Indeed or something that in some way or another this project could help you apply for. And it's all about how you are right now a student in the MMDD program. You will soon be a professional out in your career. How can this project be some of the glue or the sort of pathway that connects those two things together? So really think about that and include an example of a job posting that this project would actually help you to apply for. Example projects, right? Just like how I showed you examples of projects to help you understand this course, it's important for you to provide an example of projects that show me what sort of thing you're thinking about making here. So provide at least one example of a project similar to what you plan to create with a brief description of how it relates to your project. So for example, this rebrand for the film Poor Things inspires me to create similar assets curated for Taylor Swift's upcoming show at the Rogers Center. And then there's a link there to a Behance project. So the example could be something on Behance. It could even be one of the previous student examples that was shared. It could also just be something out in the world, right? An ad that you saw on the subway, or a video you saw on YouTube, something like that. Just some example to try and communicate some aspect of your project. Again, it's not meant to be the exact same thing, but just similar to help get your idea across. Skill development, specify what new skills you'll need to develop for this project. This gets at the kind of more emerging side of things, right? So for example, this project will help me build the following skills: campaign concept development, looping motion posters, and motion for digital signage, Young Dundas Square. I know that it says to, try to think about emerging technologies and how that can apply to your discipline. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be designing things for VR or something like that, unless you want to. And whether or not VR is even emerging is a side point. But all of that to say that it should just be that you're exploring new skills and new software things that you haven't done before. So for instance, it could be if you're doing UI UX, you could be exploring functionalities in Figma that you haven't explored yet, right? Or even new things they've updated that you haven't had a chance to look into yet, right? So making sure that this is a learning experience for you. If you're doing motion graphics, you want to look into some techniques in After Effects that are trending right now, right? So things that are emerging, but you don't have to get so wrapped up in thinking it has to be, projection mapping or something like that. But it should just be something that's new, that's relevant, and that's ensuring you are developing your skills and learning new things, because this is all intended to be a learning experience for you as well. Then list the resources, technology, and software needed to complete your project. So for example, I'll need the following: After Effects, Premiere, and Photoshop, YouTube for tutorials, Taylor Swift social media pages for content, right? What kind of resources will you need to be accessing throughout the semester for this? And then finally, ending it with a plan overview. So provide a succinct plan overview of what you'll be working on during each key project stage. You will have a more detailed plan in your project plan. Should say plan there, I'll fix that. But this provides an overview of each stage. So you have stages 1 through 4. And like it says here, your actual plan will be more detailed. This is a more overall look just to get you thinking about what you're going to be doing at each stage. For example, stage 1, propose my project and develop a detailed timeline, detailed plan. Stage 2, create sketches, storyboards, and animatics for all assets. Stage 3, develop assets in After Effects. Stage 4, review any final feedback and refine assets for final delivery. This will just help you to think about in a overview scale what it is you'll be working on each stage. And this is important because people are going to be doing very different projects. So if this is a UI UX project, then pre-production might look like user research or mood boards or lo-fi wireframes, right? If it's a video production assignment, you would need to put in shooting footage somewhere, right? So thinking about what kind of project you're working on, how does it fit into this overall structure? And then the more detailed tasks you'll need to complete week to week come up in your plan, which I'll cover in just a second. But first, end your presentation with any sources used. in your proposal. So, for example, ChatGPT for back and forth ideation, TaylorSwift.com, links to relevant image sources. So just include as sources there too for professional purposes. Excellent. So that's your proposal. So you can definitely expand beyond all of what is included here, but it should at the minimum include all of this information to ensure that you have considered all of these aspects and articulated them in this presentation document. Finally, your project plan. So it's going to look like this. And once again, you will download this to your own OneDrive or to your computer or your OneDrive to edit it. This is how your plan is going to look. It looks just like the critical path for the course in many ways, except you'll edit and add in your own tasks to this, so it becomes your own personal project plan. So you'll notice first off as well in stage 1, you're just making a plan for weeks 1 through 7 of the course, so stages 1 and 2. When we come back from reading week, you will make a plan for the remainder of the semester, but for now, just keep it in mind with stages 1 and 2. And you'll see I've added in some placeholders here. I've even checked off things like to complete the course quiz that should help you, right? Just to see how, okay, so each time you submit project work, you'll be checking off what you've completed, and you'll be exporting this document and submitting it with each of your submissions, right? So that just keeps you on track. It shows me where you're at in your plan, and it just makes everything a lot clearer, and it helps you in the long run for sure. I put in things like when your different stages are due. Stage 1 due week 3, stage 2A due week 5, 2B due week 7, and some other things in the course. But you'll notice things like where it says list pre-production tasks. That's where you delete that, please, and then actually list your pre-production tasks. So, okay, sketches for this animation. Okay. Week 5, okay, storyboard for this animation. Okay, week 6, animatic, right? So like what is the actual task you're going to be doing week to week, and listing that out so you can see things in this way to break down the bigger project into smaller things while keeping it in this overall sort of project stage 1, 2, 3, 4 direction. You'll also notice with all of these templates that they all are named last name, and then the name of the template, and then the stage. So you just put your last name, project plan, stage 1 for this one. Last name, proposal, stage 1. Last name, timesheet, stage 1. And then your timesheet and plan, since you're going to be updating those with each submission, you would just update the title of it as well with your most recent export of what stage it is tied to. So keep that in mind. I also have here work items to consider for your timesheet. So it should reflect the following tasks. Course review. So if we're looking at your timesheet, right, you're going to put course review as a task that you completed, and that's going to take a couple hours, right? You've already gone through all of that course and project overview. You're watching this video right now. That's a lot of time, right? And it's time you're dedicating to this course, so it is only fair that you include that as time spent on this course and on this project. So put course review in there, and then how much time it's taking you to go through all of these resources. As well as timesheet design. It's going to take time for you to design this timesheet, so you might as well list that as a task that you're completing for this class, right? So keep that in mind. Anything that you're doing related to this course counts as time spent on the course and on your project. So you should be keeping track of it here just to give you a sense of how much time you're spending. Project research, right? Any time spent looking through those examples or doing ideation or exploring Behance, whatever it is you end up doing, that is time to put in your timesheet as well as project proposal development and project plan development, which is the actual creation of these things, which is also definitely going to take some time for you to do. So keep in mind those are all things that you will have here as tasks with their associated times that you'll total up for this associated timesheet. Here's some submission guidelines. Please include a professional message and any specific feedback requests in the comment box of your submission. You don't have to have any specific feedback requests, but if you do, include them and I'll make sure to address them. Submit PDFs as direct attachments, not as a zip folder. Please do so. The PDFs as direct attachments makes it way easier for me to evaluate your submissions. Your submission must include the requested deliverables, all completed in a satisfactory manner to receive credit. If you even check the rubric here, it's quite straightforward, but it has each of the deliverables and then a SAT or unsat evaluation for them. So you need to receive a SAT on all deliverables to receive a SAT to receive credit for the submission. Ensure any included hyperlinks also include a URL. This is just helpful because hyperlinks don't always work once they've been submitted on Blackboard. So you'll notice like here I just have taylorswift.com. Here I have a whole link to the Behance thing. So that's just helpful for me so that if I want to view a link, I can just copy the URL and paste it. And if submitting late, here's a link to a late waiver for you to use. Really do not encourage you to start the semester off with late work because that's going to delay everything the rest of the semester. So definitely do your best to get this submitted on time. But here's a late waiver for you to fill out. Check off, first or second, why your submission was late, how you're going to change it next time, and sign your name. And similarly, you'll need to download this to edit it on your own. And again, you may use 2 total late waivers throughout the semester. So if you do end up using one on this first submission, that means you only have 1 left the rest of the semester. So something to keep in mind. But that covers the submission here. And so that video then covers all of this information. And so now you are ready to hit the ground running with stage 1 for your project. And again, I know there's a lot of information coming at you at the start here, but once you start working on your project and making these submissions, things will definitely get a bit more routine and more seamless. But for now, as I've said many times, really do your best to try and think about a project that you will enjoy working on. That's so important for me. That you do that because it makes it more enjoyable for me too to know that you're actually finding this work to be fulfilling and not just as a chore. And if you just wait until the day before stage 1's due and you whip something quick together, that's impacting the rest of your semester, right? That's what you're going to be working on. So you want to spend a lot of time thinking through this decision to ensure that you pick something that you would like to work on. And if you have any questions or want to run anything by me, you can always send me a message and say, hey, thinking about doing this, do you think that would work for the class? And I can just let you know how it might fit. Okay, so you can always send me a Blackboard message if you have any questions. Other than that, best of luck during stage 1, and I look forward to seeing all of your great creative exploration with these directions that you take your projects. So good luck.